the troll box in Poloniex was my only place that I found community until I found ETH. I guess I felt like I got rugged enough, so I moved all my stuff to like an EOA, like an actual account that I owned, and then I checked out of crypto for a while. I went to grad school for oceanography, and I came back to like treating crypto as a hobby at some point after grad school. And I came back and I was like, where the hell did ETH Trader go? So I missed the whole migration. I came back, I found ETH Finance, and it just became my home again. And I started getting enough into crypto that at some point I was like, I think I am going to leave science, leave academia, and try to make my way in crypto. And so I went to a coding boot camp. I posted my whole journey in ETH Finance that whole time. I said, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to a coding boot camp. We'll see how this goes. I posted some of the projects that I was working on. The first project that I worked on was a blockchain balance checker. And I remember my coding boot camp instructor was sort of like, you're doing crypto stuff? I can't help you with that. Like,
where was that? Was that a physical site that you went to for that coding boot camp?
It was a hybrid thing. It was between, it was like remote and in Texas. I wouldn't recommend it, so I'm not going to tell you the name of it.
Gotcha.
Coding boot camps do this like really sketchy thing where they like report hiring metrics afterwards, but if their hiring metrics aren't high enough, then they hire some grads like temporarily to say that they got hired. And so like one of my instructors was somebody who graduated from that boot camp like 3 months ago. This is sort of a scam. But anyway, so I got hired at GitPull actually during that. I've been volunteering. I've been volunteering for eStaker since before I left oceanography, and so Colfax, who started GitPull was starting GitPull, and we were already friends through eStaker because I was just volunteering there, and he was like, I have job opportunities, and so I started working there. I left the coding bootcamp in the middle, like once I realized it was kind of scammy, and I had sort of like gotten what I needed from it. Worked at GitPull for a while, and then at some point, GitPull scaled down. It returned money to investors. I got more involved with eStaker, and eStaker needed a legal entity and like an organization to like start receiving the grants that they were getting and like handle it in a more compliant way. And so I started taking that on, and as I took that on, they sort of just like funneled me into being the executive director of eStaker. I spent a lot of time trying to advocate for stakers, and advocating for stakers involves knowing what's going on in Ethereum research and like knowing what direction the protocol is being taken in to make sure that stakers are still being taken into account. Because like as a whole, stakers have trouble advocating for themselves because it's a hobby. Nobody does it. You don't make enough money to like consider it your job, so you're not like advocating for yourself. You have this machine running in your home that you spend an hour a month, if that, paying attention to, and you don't want to like be combing research forums to make sure that you're being taken into account in the future. Whereas like big liquid staking protocols or dApp developers do that. This is their full-time job, so they do have time to advocate for themselves, and they do have money to throw at advocating for themselves. So I started paying attention to research, started attending all the all-core dev calls, and making sure that stakers were being represented in some way, which also on both sides that's difficult because I can't speak for stakers. Like stakers have such a wide variety of opinions about everything. Some of them are different from my opinions. Like issuance is a really contentious one that like some people are for, or issuance reduction, some people are for it, some people are against it. Like my views don't represent all solo stakers. So you have to sort of like spend a lot of time in the staking community getting an overview of what those opinions are, and then accurately presenting those without like letting your own biases color what you're representing. Otherwise you become like a trustworthy resource for representing solo stakers. So I started doing that, and as I did that, I interacted with core devs, I interacted with EF researchers, and at some point, the EF posted a job that I looked at the position, and I was like, that's what I want to do. This is like already what I'm like.
What is that position currently?
So it's protocol support. So protocol support, the team lead is Tim Bako. Tim Bako chairs the all core devs execution layer calls. Those are the Thursday protocol development calls. He sort of like just aggregates decisions and moves things forward, because when you get like between 50 and 100 people consistently join those calls, and that's not even all of the all core developers. A lot of them like are in Australia, and that call is 2 or 3 in the morning for them. So when you're aggregating opinions from 100 to 200 people, you need someone to actually like be like, okay, I think this is the consensus. We're moving forward on this. Does anybody have any objections? Otherwise, you just get people arguing. So you need like a mover. So Tim is the mover, and he also like coordinates in-person events for these core devs and researchers to get together and like hash things out, because a lot of the times, like the work that you get done asynchronously in 6 months can be done in like a week if you get a testnet together and you just like all do like a little hackathon in around a conference. Things like that. So we plug a lot of holes. Right now, I'm mostly focused on like making sure. Of course, I came from staking, so I pay a lot of attention to like how staking is affecting things. So like I was really involved in making sure that everybody had the right information for MaxEB as that went live on Pectra. So yeah, I saw that job posting and I was like, this just expands what I want to do with staking and the core protocol, and gives me a little bit more reach and gives me a little bit more knowledge about what's happening and like more contacts. So that's how I ended up at the Ethereum Foundation.
So, I mean, being with Colfax, he's such a nice person. You know, where did he end up going? I'm rewinding a bit because I want to walk through this again. So, Colfax, get POAP. Do you know where he headed off to?
Yeah, he is a engineer. He's a really good coder. He is an engineer for, I wish I could remember the project that he works for now, but I don't. He's not really like, he's still part of eStaker in the background. Yeah. We have like emeritus people at eStaker who just sort of like stay in the Discord that we taught, and I'm like now emeritus as well.
Gotcha.
But he really checks into a job. And so when he checks into a job, he kind of disappears for a while. He also had a kid recently.
Yeah. That'll make you disappear for a while too.
Yeah. So between those two things, Colfax has been a little dark for a while.
Yeah. So, okay. So then the walk, when you look back at where you started, I mean, fast forward to what you're doing now, 5 years ago, did you see yourself doing it? Because I see this walk where you went the Get POAP and then the ETH Staker thing. It just seemed like such a natural. You made it look like a very natural thing, but when you zoom out and you look back, you're like, wow, I kind of warp speeded my way into like this position now where you're coordinating a lot of stuff. You know, you're helping Tim obviously at the foundation. I don't know. It's just, when you look back, it's like, dang, you were connecting a lot of dots in a very gradual, methodical way, but I bet at times it felt like a damn grind. You didn't see, like, to be able to, like, manage all that stuff while also, at the time being a digital nomad, just going from one place to the next, to the next, to the next. I mean, you're right at the heart of the edge of everything, and it's really neat to see your journey getting up into this echelon now where it's a lot, isn't it? When you got like hundreds of people spread out across the planet in all those different time zones, so when they're all on the calls, it's kind of your job to kind of aggregate that information, what was learned through the calls, and make it into a digestible thing that other people can kind of read, almost like a TLDR of the whole call. Am I following this correct?
Yeah, I will say 5 years ago, I still worked in oceanography. So 5 years ago, I definitely would not have pictured myself here. So
you got a different kind of wetsuit now.
yeah. It was 3.5 years ago that I moved to crypto. But I would say like the through line for me has always been I've always worked for nonprofits, even like academia. That's like sort of a gray area because they're sort of a nonprofit, but there's a lot of corruption in academia.
Yeah.
But even before that, I worked. Before I went to grad school, I worked for nonprofits. There was like a year where I didn't work for a nonprofit, but then going to Eastaker, then going to the Ethereum Foundation. That's been the through line. Like I feel like I just want to do things that like I can really throw myself into and feel like I'm like doing good for the world. And I do think that crypto still has like the opportunity to be really good for the world. But what was I going to say? There was one other thing.
Well, directionally, you're having the most maximum amount of impact you could in Ethereum, right?
Yeah, and I honestly, like, since I've been here, I haven't felt like it's a grind at all. I'm so addicted to this job. I love what I do. I spend a lot of time doing this, and like because it was my hobby before it was my job, I sort of like melded job and hobby, and now instead of spending 8 hours a day doing a job and 4 hours a day doing a hobby, I'm just spending
the best job you can have is the one that just feels like a never-ending hobby, you know?
Yeah, and there are definitely like people in my family when I go visit, they're like, it's 5 o'clock, are you done with work? I'm like, yeah, but I really want to get this thing done. And they're like, wow, your job makes you work so much, you must hate it. And I'm like, no,
yeah,
choice.
My son and I were talking earlier, and this just kind of bringing this all full circle. He was like, have you heard the Lex Friedman episode? It's a 4-hour interview with the guy that developed the Unreal Engine, which I guess is like a gaming platform. And he's the same guy that did a lot of AI stuff. And he had estimated that he had done something like 10,000 hours of coding. And my son was kind of struck by that. He's like, gosh, there's no balance. I'm like, no. When you're specialized in something in such a way that the work feels fun and engaging, then it's not really, you don't need to have a balance of other things in your life. It can just be, I'm like, dude, it's the same reason why some people are so good at building hot rods or they're brain surgeons. Like, you want people to be so laser focused that, and intentional with their time to the point they'd never burn out with it because they're happier when they're doing what they love. And that's a really good place to be.
For sure. And I've always cared about like data privacy. And I've always felt sort of like weird and paranoiac among my friend group, especially like when I worked in oceanography or chemistry. People would be like, why do you have like a custom operating system on your phone? Why do you care about giving out your email address? Why do you care about giving out your phone number? Everybody has the data. And like, I felt like a little bit of a weirdo. But when I came into crypto, all of a sudden there are all these other people who care about this stuff. And so like, I feel more at home and I feel like more kindred with the people I'm working with in this industry, because there are like things that I actually like passionately care about in my free time that they all passionately care about as well.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, we're talking to Nixo from the Ethereum Foundation. We just had a comment on YouTube from JS Tears, our weekly haiku expert. He says, awesome. So, yeah, we got some fans out there. I see Wholesome Crypto in the audience on Discord. That's Rudy. Amazing person. Next Level Fantasy is a good friend of ours of the show. Treebeard, of course. The A word, B Broad, 12 Meatballs. A bunch of people lining up. If you're watching us on Twitch, feel free to stop by Discord. If you're in the audience on Discord in the stage room and you want to jump on stage and ask Nixo a question, you raise your hand. We'll get a moderator up here and you can rock and roll with that. Let's go back to your digital nomad days. I see you're in a more of a permanent place. I see stacked limestone behind you. That's how I know you have a home now. But for years you were a digital nomad. What was that life like? And take us through some of that, the ups and downs of doing the digital crypto nomad thing.
Great. I did not intend to do it. So basically I like quit my job. I moved out of my house and I went to that coding boot camp in Texas. I stayed with some extended family to do that. And then I just thought like, okay, once I finish this coding boot camp, I'm going to find a different place to live. I'm like done with where I just moved out of, and I would like to like go find a new home. And I just couldn't decide. I kept going from place to place, and then at some point I was like, politics in the U.S. are getting crazy. I want to leave the U.S. And so I started. Anytime that I would get sent to a conference for Eastacre, I would just kind of stay where they sent me and be like, maybe this is it. Europe is too hard to stay in just because of like the visa issues, and like you actually have to like really make an intentional effort to try to get a visa to stay there, and I just didn't want to try that hard. Argentina was great. I was there passed my visa many times.
Did you see Mariano Conti there? Did you see Mariano?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Did he make asado? I have to know.
He did, yeah. I went to a couple of asados.
Oh man!
And yeah, the Argentinian asado is out of this world.
Yeah. I want to get down there.
Yeah, so I stopped being a digital nomad just about 3 months ago. And the intention the whole time was to stop. I didn't want to keep traveling. Like it was good for me in a lot of ways because it made me a lot more simplistic with what I need. I was just traveling out of a suitcase and a duffel most of the time. I had like a storage unit that I would stop by every once in a while to just like change out winter clothes with summer clothes. And every time I stopped there, I would throw more stuff away because I'd be like, I don't even remember this. Yeah. It was so important to me that I put it in a storage unit, but I don't even remember where it came from. But yeah, I want plants, animals. I'll bring them over. I have a bunch of kittens right now that I'm fostering.
No, they're fostering you. You got it backwards. They're kittens.
They are fostering me. Yeah, so I'm excited to like live somewhere again. Being a digital nomad was great, though, especially my first few years of crypto, because that meant that anytime that there was a crypto event, I could up and be like, yes, I'm in, like send me. And I don't have any obligations. I don't have a place that I'm paying for. I'm down to go. And so I ended up going to a lot of Ethereum conferences and making a lot of good connections and learning a lot. And so I think that was really good for my first few years in crypto. And if I had to do it over, I would definitely do it the same. But yeah, putting down roots is nice, especially because like traveling a lot can be nice because you end up like making good friends who you see a lot throughout these conferences, but you never really have a routine. You never really have like a solid friend group. It can get lonely. Yeah. So I'm glad I live somewhere now.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on living somewhere now. And now you can live next to your storage unit. You know, if you ever want to be the digital nomad again, you could just do what the rest of us do and just take a trip. You know, and then you can just come back home to your house and you can visit your storage unit and still throw things away you forgot about. You know, there's all kinds of life hacks here. This is good.
The first thing I did is I came back and I got rid of my storage unit. I brought everything to my new place and I got rid of my storage unit and I threw away so much stuff.
You got a second bedroom just packed full of conference stickers and T-shirts.
Dude,
how many lanyards do you own?
I throw away the lanyards, but when I aggregated all of like the stickers that I had dropped off at the storage unit every once in a while, I can go grab it. It's a full box of stickers. Like I cannot believe how many stickers I have.
They're cool. You just don't have enough places to sticker. That's why you need to just like take them to random bathrooms around the United States and just, you know, buy more ETH, you know. So
I should probably start doing that.
How often do you, going back to the Ethereum Foundation, how often do you talk to other people in the structure? Have you met the new directors? How's that going? Do you feel like there are things directionally within the EF that are kicking up? What's your take on that? You know, say as much as you want. We're all just learning about the EF and the new directors that are at the top now.
I'm really excited for the direction that the EF is taking right now. I think that wait, hold on. Let me.
Got the cat? Show us the cat. Got one? Yay!
One of them.
Nice. We got a cat. It's official. This cat's name is what? Ethan.
I think this is Mikey.
Mikey. Yeah, there's
I
no
don't really like
ETH in
the
that name. We're gonna have to.
Mikey.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the direction that the EF is taking. So I am actually at first when I was like sort of watching from the outside, because all of this anger towards the EF started sort of as I was onboarding. Because I onboarded last September. Okay.
And I think a lot of that anger too is like price action, and it's like stuff that's kind of out of the EF's hands.
Oh, yeah.
But then there's other things that, okay, fine, could have been done better. But
once the price action was going down, people are going to find a million reasons to explain it, right?
Yep.
If we were at 10K right now, everyone would be like, "Oh my God, the EF has been amazing the whole time," and not nary a negative thing to say. But when the price action is down, it's like, "Oh my God, they're ignoring app users and like all this liquidity fragmentation and." The chain is slow and doesn't scale, and L2s are parasitic, and it's once you beat through 2 or 3 of their BS responses, it always comes down to price down bad, hate project. Every time.
And then the Bitcoin maxis and the Soul Bros pile on, and then the concern trolling, and then the blah blah blah.
Yeah, but if I actually take the time and post quality responses and debunk FUD. The last resort is always, if you were right, the price would be better. Right?
Exactly.
That's the last resort of every Bitcoin maxi. I'm right because my price is up. And it's like, well, that's not a technical argument. I'm not even sure what type of logical fallacy that is, but sure, it is a type of logical fallacy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I had a moment at a lunch the other day with some Ethereum people. It was right after Pectra. Pectra had gone so smoothly. Everybody was so nervous for it. We were sitting at lunch, and I was like, "Yeah, but guys, have you seen the vibes on crypto Twitter? They are so positive this week.
Yes,
like the upgrade went well. Everything is great." And like they sort of did like a Nixo at me, and they were like, "The price is up," and I was like, "Oh, fuck. This is not about fundamentals at all."
Yeah, there were people like, "Oh, the price is up because of Pectra." I'm like, probably not. Ethereum's so good at shipping stuff like that. It's almost like it doesn't matter anymore if things are going well.
There are people every hard fork who say, "Oh my God, the price! This is a huge hard fork, and I'm going to buy Ethereum for the hard fork because the price will make the price go up." Yeah. And this time they're right, and it's like confirmation bias, right?
Yeah.
But my stance is like, well, the merge didn't do it, and that seemed to be a bigger one to me. I don't know.
True.
There's more execution risk in the merge than I think there was in Pectra. So, if that didn't do it, if the reduction of execution risk isn't something that was holding down the price, I don't know that account abstraction or doubling gas is going to do so on a weekly time frame.
Yeah,
but here we are.
Yeah.
But so the point that Ben Meadows just made is really good. So what I was going to say is I'm really stoked. So last September, when all of the price was going down, these complaints started surfacing. It really made like a forcing function at the EF, and a lot of these like transparency issues, like being clear, releasing reports on time, all of these sort of get swept under the rug when the price is good, but the actual issues still exist. And so when I joined the EF, I thought it's a transparency issue. They're just not like honest about it, but or not like forthcoming about it. But when I joined the EF, I sort of realized that like the community just hadn't been asking for this kind of transparency, hadn't been asking for like clarity on things, hadn't been asking for like organizational structures as hard as they did last year. And it created a forcing function where not only did it create more transparency, but it also created more actual structure at the EF, because when you were creating these organizational reports, when you're making like these organizational charts, you realize like, oh, this could be structured better, or like this person should be over here, or this has just been there for a long time, but it's kind of unnecessary now. And so adding that forcing function, like having the price go down, having people complain, having people like really like be allowed peanut gallery was, I think, very positive for the EF. And so now I'm actually really stoked about the direction that it's taking, because Tomasz was an excellent choice for like new blood being injected into the EF. He is making a lot of people feel very heard. He reaches out all the time to everybody at the EF. One of the first things he did is he came in the Discord and said, "Everybody friend me. I want to be able to message whenever I want."
Good.
And like I've gotten 2 messages from him this week. He just sends me stuff like, "Hey, do you know who's working on this, or like, do you know whose initiative this? Can you pick this up?" And so yeah, I'm very excited about the direction that the Ethereum in general and the EF is taking right now.
Ask him if he likes barbecue and wants to come to my house. Just
He
throw it
probably
out
would.
there.
Yeah, well, you have the DM. You can do this next time. I think this is a good example of the squeaky wheel getting oiled, right? Things aren't a problem until you can hear them, and in the din of decentralized crypto media, it's only once you start to get some more louder voices or amplified voices come forward with the same criticism that starts to be taken seriously. So I'm glad that the EF didn't find that just demoralizing. The changes that I've seen do seem positive and product focused, and this is a chance to reforge rather than shatter into something stronger. And I think every organization tends to kind of go through malaise, complacency maybe is a better word for it. If
Definitely.
there isn't some type of challenge function that happens, right? If there isn't some type of overturned leadership, some type of new approach, some type of new challenge that comes from the market or something, right? But I wish that it wasn't just vultures from other L1s bringing forth half the rhetoric just to as opportunists rather than they're basically the concern trolling rather than being honest about it, right? There was a lot of sort of predatory misinformation and very negative vibes and witch hunt type of stuff that I was seeing on crypto Twitter, at least a couple months ago.
Oh yeah, it was a positive forcing function, but holy crap, can people be shitty?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I have seen plenty of good people burn out when just earnestly trying to engage with what should be their community and supporters, whether that's app developers, whether that's protocol developers, or we've had plenty of celebs in the past, and I don't mean of the they went to jail type. I mean, we've had plenty of celebs in the past that just quietly disappeared. I don't know if they finally struck it rich enough and they quit, but I think it's many of these people I know for a fact believed in the impact and potential of Ethereum to make the world a better place. And that, as a drive, doesn't go away just if you get wealthy. So I think it's more likely they just got tired of dealing with the chaos of it all and the sort of sense of entitlement that crypto Twitter often comes across as having.
Rudy from Wholesome Crypto wants to ask you, Nick, so what was the most wholesome thing that happened in the EF since you joined?
I'd have to think about it. Like, honestly, my entire experience at the EF has been really wholesome. I think one thing that the EF has done really well is self-select for a certain type of person. Everybody at the EF is super nice, super welcoming, not main character vibes. Like, I have not met like the percentage of like narcissists that are in the world is much higher than the percentage of like they're very underrepresented at the EF. I don't know anybody who sucks at the EF. And so like generally when I came in, they have like I did like a little introduction and so many people welcomed me. So many people were so like inviting. And the onboarding is really really unstructured at the EF. It's really flexible, especially when you've worked in the industry and sort of like they're like, okay, we want you to decide what you're doing and then keep working on that. But Cat is trying to get into trouble.
Did the EF send you all the kittens? Because that'd be pretty wholesome if they did.
They did not send me all the kittens. I really want to adopt a cat, but I still travel a lot for Ethereum, and so I figured fostering was a good middle step where I could just give them back when I need to go to Berlin for a conference.
That's a good plan. That's a good plan. You're going to be still traveling quite a bit, but I'm glad that your experience in time there has been smooth thus far. You're enjoying the leadership. Your trajectory is up and to the right, always has been, regardless of price. You're a type of person that sets you set your path and you set your sail and you just went out and got it, especially at an age and a time in your life when it's relatively easy to do that. It still takes a lot of work, though. You still got to make ends meet. You got to figure out foreign countries and all that. But now that you're able to get situated up in the ivory tower at the EF and help Tim and the gang out with all those calls, that's pretty incredible. And proud of you as a fellow EV Maverick. I know the whole community is rallying behind you. You've been there, done that, doing all this stuff with Colfax and obviously ETH Staker, and I don't know. Hats off to you. It's really cool to see you shine.
Says the guy who also left his career for crypto at some point.
Yeah. And now I do my formal job title these days is I am the assistant to the substitute part-time construction delivery driver. That's my job title. I'm having a blast though. Yeah, I got 2 different companies that I kind of do part-time construction work for. And then obviously I help out on Reddit with our Ethereum, and life is good. I got 2 grandkids and things are flying, life is good. And just it's always good to connect with you and wish you all the best. Is there anything else that you want to add to the conversation? And if you want to hang out, we'll go through some Doots like old times.
The only thing that I'll add in, which I feel like I'm perpetually saying, is if you're solo staking or running a node, please represent yourself. Like your opinions, though you feel like, oh, I'm the only one who's going through this. Oh, I'm just an idiot and I don't know how to configure my network. Oh, this is my fault. Voice those opinions, because most people are having the same issues. And most people are scared to speak up because they're like, oh, probably way more competent people are doing this who are more qualified to speak up. And that's usually not true.
That's excellent. Logri the Bard, I heard you talking a little bit there. Anything you want to add before we move on?
I didn't say anything. No, I'm happy to go into what Nix is doing in her role that she enjoys the most. I'm happy to talk about the Ethereum ecosystem with her. I mean, we vibe pretty well usually. So
very good.
Is there anything you wish we asked that we didn't, Nixo?
I don't think so. I think we've covered a lot.
All right, very good. Well,
do you? I don't see you drop by the daily that much anymore. Do you still follow our Ethereum?
I do. I click on the daily every once in a while. I read the top or the most recent. Yep. I usually read the last 10 comments to see just what people are talking about in real time.
I check. Okay.
Yeah, and then I respond if there's some staking thing. But my life has just become checking Discord, checking Twitter, checking Telegram, checking ETH Staker subreddit, checking the Ethereum subreddit.
Big support, yeah.
Well, I've got to get stuff done outside of being on social media sometimes. So I feel yeah.
Those cats ain't gonna foster themselves,
Hey.
All right. Well, I think with that, we will head on over to dailydoots.com. If you want to fire up dailydoots.com, you can follow our podcast, subscribe on any of these channels that you see up here. And now we're going to go right into our weekly roundups.
I burned out on the daily once upon a time for a couple months because it was just ratio bashing nonstop all day, every day.
Oh, God.
I just dropped by for the daily Doots and, read basically the best of content recap. And sometimes it would only be 5 messages, right? We had some pretty slim pickings for a few months there, but that was always worth the time. So if you're time pressed, Nixo, and just want to drop by, we do have someone that curates the madness for you, so you can spend less time and still feel engaged with the community.
Very good. All right, dailydoots.com. We got a couple of announcements here. The $1 trillion security initiative headed by the Ethereum Foundation blog. We got a link to blog.ethereum.org and the link going straight to this $1 trillion security initiative. The TLDR. The TLDR, is it a single company or a nation with $1 trillion secured on chain? Billions of individuals are each comfortable storing more than $1,000 on chain, collectively amounting to trillions of dollars secured on Ethereum. And then the second bullet point, companies, institutions, or governments are comfortable storing more than $1 trillion of value inside a single contract or application. That is coming straight from the Ethereum Foundation blog. If you would have asked me 6 months ago, would the EF have posted something like that, I would have laughed, right? Not even a thing. But this is the new leadership, the new direction that is bullish, and I fully support their efforts on doing that. All right, don't forget to also take the Ethereum staking survey. You hit fill in the CAPTCHA here if you are a node operator at this point. Even if you're not staking or just holding LSTs, your input matters. Our leaderboard for this day, let's see, this is May 16th. As of today, 696 ETH holding on at number 10. Aiden Cairo at 118. Ethical Trade at 118. Tied still. Crypto Wild Currency at 121. Hani Abu flying up at 126. Tricky Troll at 155. Benito 2030 at 171. And Logri the Bard at 201. And Harog smashing through at 203. Second place. And Superfizz at the top of the board at 222. There's a slew of events going on in Dublin, Ireland. Dublin starts in a week from now. Healdsburg, California, May 24th to June 21st. Prague has several things going on from May 27th to June 1st. Looks like Belgrade, Serbia, Lisbon, Portugal, San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, June 11th through the 15th, Berlin, June 12th and 13th, and Kiev, Ukraine, hosting ETH Kiev, June 13th through June 15th. Nixo, you going to go to Ukraine? You going to hit that one? You think you're going to make it to, you're going to give, yeah, why not? I think,
They need blockchain. They got to raise funds.
They
for the
need
military.
blockchains. They got to get something. Okay. We don't, no comment.
Probably not.
No comment. Okay. But that's cool. Kiev keeps marching on. Good luck to everybody over there. All right.
I do know someone who lives in San Miguel de Allende, though.
There
That's
you
funny
go.
that there's a conference there.
See, that's the thing about the nomad life. Back then you could just get those people in your Rolodex and, hey, I'll be in your area. You can get a little Airbnb for free, hopefully. See what happens.
Yeah, for sure. I get my Rolodex out all the time.
Your Rolodex, it's about this big around. It's got 1,000. For those kids out there that aren't familiar with the fax machine, they're pretty cool too. May 6th.
Anytime anybody asks me for a fax, I'm like, I'm a millennial. Do you think I know how to use a fax machine?
You know what? There's going to be a Gen Alpha thing that comes out where they start getting faxes and making those cool again. They'll do it. They'll think that, yeah, they will. They'll get a landline.
No.
Yeah. Okay, they won't. But they did pick up typewriters, the Gen Xers and so forth. They were going to coffee shops with their typewriters. I remember that. So
mechanical keyboards, sure. Yeah. Those are coming in. Those are humming along fine.
They are. They are. It's funny, like those old IBMs from the 80s are just clicking along. All right. Okay, so the morning roundup for this day. Johnny Dappeth chimes in. Ethereum, self-made millionaire at $25.95 on the price. And Frank the Tank chimes in at 2.5 on the ratio. A weekly haiku courtesy of JS Tears. Technology missed. No practical alchemist. Market traction missed. What? How does he do it, JS Tears? How do you do it? That's your weekly haiku. User Benito 2030 for our first doot. This is going to be... Wait, do we have our ship post? Uh-oh. We're missing our ship post of the week. Uh-oh. The A word. Okay.
We'll live.
We'll live. We will live. Oh, I gotta take a drink of water. All right, here we go. I believe that Benito 2030 speculates on potential implications of the L1 scaling, and Harag weighs in on the matter. Benito 2030 writes, I believe that with L1 scaling, for example, with 10x in 2 years and or 100x in 4 years, as proposed by Dankrad, there's one more change coming. L3s are dead. Not that they're really alive either, but I think people expected that low and no value use cases would live on L3s that settle on L2s. But with mainnet scaling, people are even saying L2s are dead, or at least that we will need way less L2s than expected. This has one consequence, of course. More activity on L1 equals less L2s, equals less competition for blob space, plus blob space will still be scaled, which equals demand for blob space will be different. If we put those two thoughts together, we might see a lot of L2s, but the distribution will be a lot different. We probably have too many general purpose L2s already, since we now see that those compete with the L1s, and we probably also already have too many L1s. But we might see more app-specific chains for games, decentralized social media that usually wouldn't have settled on L1, but now might. On top, we will of course see some high-value L2s such as Unichain. That hasn't really changed, I think. Am I missing something? Would you agree with this idea? Harag responds, you are directionally correct, but I think you overestimate the influence of the L1 scaling and what it has on L2s and L3s. In the long term, no matter how much we scale, the L1, it might only be a fraction of the whole L1 plus roll-up throughput. Or in other words, no matter how much we scale the L1, its contribution on the whole transaction throughput of the Ethereum network is only small. For example, Vitalik assumes we can get to 100 transactions per second on rollups with blobs. If we assume a 100 times scaling of the L1, we will still only have about 2,000 transactions per second on the L1. So if we assume that there was never any transaction increase on the roadmap for the L1, obviously the wrong assumption, then we are talking about a single-digit percentage of throughput increase for the whole Ethereum system by massively scaling the L1. If this tiny increase makes L3 unviable, they did not really have a good product market fit anyway. I would put the same argument forward for the rollups. If you include L2s in the discussion above, there were numbers like 1 million TPS thrown around not too long ago. Then the influence of scaling the L1 on the whole transactions per second is even more minuscule. Scaling the L1 does not invalidate the layered scaling approach. In my view, the only thing it does is it makes the L1 a feasible settlement layer for everything that is built on top. Without scaling the L1, the global settlement part of the Ethereum vision would not work out very well. Personally, I do not really know if useful L3s will be a reality in a few years. They make sense on paper as being the cheapest possible block space in Ethereum. Not sure if that is enough to have a moat and persevere against L2s with external data availability, which are very cheap as well. I would assume that publishing the proofs or state roots to the L1 is only a small fraction of the cost of running the whole infrastructure for an L3. So it might not really matter whether these proofs are published on the L1 or an L2. And even if the cost of publishing to the L1 are expensive, they could just reduce the publishing frequency to the L1 and save some money there. Publishing directly to the L1 would also make their dependencies much easier. No L2, which has to be up for the L3 to work. So, in the end, I'm not really sure if L3s have a good product market fit anyways, with or without L1 scaling. Good stuff, Hara. Good stuff, Benito 2030. Nice job. User Grow the Pie covers all the post-Pectra all-time highs. All right. Since Pectra, the number of new all-time highs has been hard to keep up with. Here are 9 from yesterday, and honestly, I'm probably missing some. Ooh, this is gonna be good. Let's see. Base. Oh, messed up something here on my side. Base is up 17% in 30 days. OP mainnet, Optimism mainnet, up 50% in 30 days. Unichain up 768% in 30 days. Swell Chain is up 844% in 30 days. Stablecoins, new all-time highs. Mantle up 5.2. Fractal up 1.6. Polygon ZK EVM up 145%. World Chain up 125%. Sonium, which is Sony's blockchain, up 11%. For reference, the blob count is up 18% from 30 days ago. So we still have a lot of growing left as the blob target was increased by 100%. Interesting that we have so many stablecoin all-time highs, but I think that might have to do more with market sentiment. As for active addresses, they are starting to pick up again, but not seeing many all-time highs since Pectra. That is user Grow the Pie. User Grow the Pie this week is a Deuter number 37. Fellow moderator user Edmund Edgar is looking for a responsible stablecoin yield in DeFi and gets some great responses from user Rhythm of ETH and Logri the Bard. Edmund Edgar is a Deuter number 28. And let's see, Rhythm of ETH. Open up real quick. I always love these numbers. Deuter number 23. All right, Rhythm of ETH writes, the way I see it, but I might be wrong, is that your almost zero risk approach is to directly supply a protocol. This response is a long rant, and I'm thinking you might already be aware of all this, so apologies in advance. The risk there is mostly governance, protocol security risks, but the analysis is achievable and there are well-established platforms. As an example given by another Redditor in response, you have a 3 to 4% yield on Aave. An additional point to care about is how much in a rush you'd be to recover your stables whenever you want it. If you're fine waiting, you can supply protocols with low liquidity in which your stake is a considerable percentage of the whole pool. Hence, you might need to wait until others supply or stop borrowing before you can withdraw the stables. This low liquidity might result in higher spikes of yield, something to consider. Now, if you want to play a more complex risk balance, it's a little bit the same as with TradFi. The more risk can yield more reward, and there's always a riskier version. Derivatives. You can compound your supply of stables. This is where I think Logri refers to the 10 to 15%. When you compound, you add an additional risk, leverage, and you add new layers of governance and protocol security for each new protocol or contract that is involved in the compounding and layering. The leverage risk is mostly, once you've supplied the stables, you could borrow something else, and you could take that something else and supply it again. The moment you borrow, you have a liquidation risk. So choosing the right percent exposure and asset is essential. This is what adds the most risk because it depends on the market and not entirely on you. You can definitely compute how much you could lose due to liquidation penalties. The layering of governance and protocol risks basically adds complexity on your assessment of trustworthiness of each DAO, contract, and dApp involved. For these reasons, I never end up compounding and layering because it requires so much effort, not really due to liquidation penalties, which I could live with, that I end up calculating the yield and realize I value my time too much to fully understand it, and I can't otherwise blindly trust it. In other words, I'm too conservative. Logri responds, here's an old blog post of mine, and I'll open this up in another link. Logri the Bard is the author of a blog site, tokenomicsexplained.com. He's also our technical interviewer on the Doots podcast. He has an article here from 2021 called Evolutions in Liquidity Sourcing. I'll let you dive into that. You can find that at dailydoots.com. He writes, here's an old blog post of mine that holds up pretty well. It explains the principles of liquidity mining and has some links in there if you want to dive deeper into the mechanics. Given your constraints, I'd feel pretty comfortable parking CRV USD in various places, maybe even this pool. And he offers a link. It's a beefy finance vault of some kind, or I hope I said that right. Is it a vault? And it shows a liquidity breakdown. There's Frax and CRV USD. Total value locked, 766,000. Given your constraints, I'd feel pretty comfortable. $780,000 in depth, 15% APR. Risks are the fractal chain, curve, and convex smart contract risk. Curve USD and Frax USD smart contract and DPEG risks. So, yeah, there's chain, curve, convex, the associated smart contracts, and the depegging risk in a high volatility environment. I think Logri, I don't know if you're able to chime in on this at all, but I think Logri's take was, there is a certain amount of risk to doing all of this stuff. But if you layer things up appropriately, you can, can mitigate some of that.
The standard advice is don't invest in something you don't understand, right? Like,
don't go all in on one thing.
Yeah, and distribute risk so that in my case, if I lose any position, it's not going to, like, I have lost positions before, right?
Sure.
These things have happened. And I'm still up way more than if I was just holding T-bills, right?
Yeah.
And the difference is risk distribution. So I usually have about 10 different stablecoin positions at a time. And some of them are larger and some of them are smaller, but if I was to lose one position, I'm making 15% APR, then on average, I'm still up for the year, and I don't lose a position every year, right?
Right.
So I tend to have a preference for over collateralized rather than algorithmic stablecoins for obvious reasons. I tend to have a preference for for things where either the team has experienced some type of problem before, and I've seen how they have reacted to that, or I look at audits as relatively new and the APR just happens to be high enough that I think it's worth doing. So in the case of something like Curve, for example, there have been hacks on Curve, right? So if I have a Curve LP, the Curve team has reimbursed the loss with CRV tokens. How, like, Alchemix had a similar problem. They've had rugs in the past. How have they handled it? With grace every time, right? It's a difficult situation to be in, but people show you who they are. And I'm comfortable investing in teams where if something goes wrong, they have shown that they're going to make every effort to make their users right. So it's a accidental side effect or positive side effect of having some type of loss, right? Is you get to show your character. So that's my advantage on stablecoins, really. I think that it's not just in single-side deposits. I don't think you can avoid USDC exposure in this space, really, at least on chain. Frax is backed by USDC, for example. Curve USD is backed by USDC. USDC is backed by Treasury bills. There's very few options that don't in some way inherit risk from the Treasury sector. But outside of that, the Ethereum main chain obviously is a primary risk. But outside of that, you can put it on different DEXs, you can put it on different compounders, you can put it on different L2s, you can use a variety of stable coins that are safe and have been around a while and you understand the backing of. Some of them are backed by revenues. There's a DPEG risk. Some of them are backed by reserves. And so you have to look at the quality of those reserves. But understand what you're buying. And there's so much opportunity in this space. I was just going over leverage looping opportunities of someone for consulting work the other day, introducing them to a whole world of like rate arbitrage and how you can use that to get like 25% APR, but you have to be more careful and on top of it, right? So the idea that you can take a cash denominated position and make 25% APR, he literally didn't believe me until I wrote down the algebra for him and showed him the math and said, here, it's all public, and you can do it right now. And we did. And now he's making money. So there is, to be clear, I don't think a 25% APR position should exist if it's not super risky. That should be rate arbitraged. But the market is just so immature. Eventually, we're going to get a bank that takes customer deposits, puts them in DeFi, and as a good hedge would, right, basically forces down all the rates to something more sane, and balloons the stable coins from like 500 billion to 2 trillion, right? And then the market will be more mature. But right now, I could do the weirdest things. Like sometimes I can just go and, buy an asset on one chain, bridge it and sell it and make a couple $100 just on arbitrage, right? Things like that shouldn't exist, but they do because the market's not mature. So a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
And DeFi, learn about it.
TradFi's, yeah. I feel like we're about ready to see like Wall Street sniff the crypto cocaine DeFi shit. And, not Wall Street necessarily, but like TradFi. These guys, they'll scheme it. They'll figure out their own little tricks and do hickeys. Hopefully it benefits people. Is all I'm hoping for.
Hopefully my stablecoin yield goes down, and ballooning the Ethereum stablecoin TVL and showing all the institutional adoption and filling block space causes my ETH value to go up to offset that. I'd be okay with that trade.
That's a fair point.
So I bring it on.
You're listening to the Doots podcast. If you're watching this on Twitch, YouTube, X, it's streaming from my Twitter handle as well as the EV Mavericks Twitter handle. I think we've also got it going live on LinkedIn. If you're not familiar with what the Daily Doots are, we are a collection of NFTs from our Ethereum, our ETH Finance, and formerly ETH Trader. And our Doots is basically like the best of the week from Reddit. So if you got a Reddit account, come and join the conversation on the daily thread. If you got a Discord account, you want to come and listen to us live on the stage on our EV Mavericks, you can follow all of our links. They are listed right here on the podcast page at dailydoots.com/podcast. We exist on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, all the places. So we'd love to have you come hang out. All right. Speaking of Logri the Bard, he talks about automation, future-proofing your income, and owning a piece of AI yourself. I've got to get myself Logri ready here. All right, here's my follow-up on my previous AI post. Broadly speaking, AI is being used for information retrieval and automation. Boy, ain't that the truth. I can tell you as a Reddit mod, the amount of AI getting injected is incredible. It's everywhere. How do corporations monetize those today? I previously wrote about monetizing information retrieval. That brings us to the second thing AI is being used for, automation. To be clear, I'm not against automation. I'm about as pro-tech as they come. Let's see what this link has. I'm generally of the opinion that technology can't be suppressed. Yeah, so this points to Logri the Bard's The Tide of Technology. This was a blog post from, is this almost like 5 years ago now? I think it's got to be close to
it. Gotta be 2021 maybe.
Yeah, so we shared this at the EY Global Conference, I think, something like that. Okay, I'm generally of the opinion that technology can't be suppressed. The adoption of useful technology is an inevitability, and the only viable path for our species long term is through technological advances. I want an AI to take my job. I just don't want to be crushed beneath the cruel boot of capitalism when it does. However, increasingly, it looks like we'll be given a little choice in the matter. As we adopt AI, we aren't just using it as an alternative to Google. We're feeding detailed task descriptions into them and expecting it to do the work for us. Artists are using AI to generate concept art at the earliest stages and to refine towards something they polish. Programmers are using AI to generate classes, simple functions, and comprehensive tests for software they write. Lawyers are using them to create draft arguments for courtrooms. I am already seeing many job listings that explicitly require you to use AI. Many more are implicitly requiring AI use to hit performance quotas. Our relationship with AI is increasingly becoming mandatory, and it is learning from us with every use. All of those detailed queries you are feeding into the AI are being written down and associated with your job description. Each time you submit a query, don't like the answer, and then submit a refined query, you are telling the AI it didn't get it quite right the first time and what you really meant by the previous query. You are fine-tuning it to understand the language of your occupation, what success at these tasks looks like, and what success in your role looks like, and even how to manage your role. The Faustian bargain we are making with the tech oligarchs is they give us some free inference and we teach them how to do our jobs so they can package it up as an AI product. After Google has your job in a black box, your job is gone, and Google will retain all the remaining revenue from it in perpetuity. You either don't realize what you're giving up by using it, or you aren't in a position where you have the choice, even if you do. The way this plays out isn't that suddenly an entire occupation vanishes. Rather, the AI starts with the simplest tasks, and humans oversee the results at all times and serve as an error correction layer for the AI. Each corrected error is used to train the next generation so it can do those tasks without as much supervision and take on more complicated tasks. For example, if you want to automate truck driving, you start on the simplest possible roads with a drive-by-wire system as a backup. Think 8-hour highway drives with few mountains and gentle weather conditions, like the highway from Phoenix to LA. I'm going to insert my own. Kansas City to Denver is the flattest, most boring 8 hours you could ever hope for. I know. It's like Western Kansas, Eastern Colorado. It's like there's nothing. It's pretty, but it's flat and like easy to drive for an AI, I'm sure. All right. Let's see. Each successive generation can drive in more difficult conditions. If you want to retain a job in the industry, you either have to be contributing to the automation of that ecosystem or at the peak of skill where the AI can't do it yet. If you are seeing a tough job market in your field with fewer junior resources, this process is going to catch up to you quickly. If you are at a company and you think you are using AI for task automation, you aren't. You aren't using AI for automation. You are the one being automated. All of the money of your occupation is going to flow to those who own the AIs. The obvious answer here is to be the one who owns the AI. Now, how do you do that today? Do you buy Microsoft shares? Well, that's a very diluted play and basically is the equivalent of telling you to first have $5 million that then you can live off of it. Most AI plays are private equity at this point. You can't buy shares of Perplexity or Claude, even if you wanted to. What you need is focused ownership over models that automate skills as that model becomes adopted and forces workers out of industries. The most approachable way to do that is to convert your own subject matter expertise into a model that you can own and can monetize directly. DAI, that is D lowercase e capital AI, is building the full tech stack to help you with that. Okay, Logri, what is DEAI?
Centralized AI.
Oh, decentralized AI. Okay. I didn't know if it was a startup. It is the startup. Gotcha.
It's a whole ecosystem, right?
Oh, man. This is scary. I was just talking to my son.
It's coming with you should be scared. Like this is already happening. Microsoft just laid off 6,000 people this week and showing record profits. Because the layoffs aren't happening because they're stretched for money. The layoffs are happening because they don't need the people as much anymore, right? You're going to see a lot of that where entire industries are just shrinking the amount of labor they have, and that's going to happen at a faster pace than previous revolutions like the Industrial Revolution. And I don't know what you do with some 50-year-old driver who just suddenly gets displaced out of a job. Yeah. What does he do? Go to college and retrain? Not likely. Not everyone has 130 IQ and can, learn how to make and repair robots or something, right? There's things that we need to come up with an occupation that everyone can contribute to. We got a massive coordination problem. and we need to have some way that people can basically contribute to grand causes and earn a living. And previously, this was solved by the invisible hand of the market, but with widespread market failures, what do you start to do as a society? We have to figure out something new. And I'm going to be writing my thoughts on what that something new looks like. But what's clear is there's going to be a very difficult job market over the next 10 to 20 years for a lot of occupations. So will servers still be doing service jobs? Yeah, but you'll see more self-checkout counters everywhere, right? Like, you're going to see, I mean, truck driving is the most numerous occupation in like a majority of states. It's like over 10 million people, right?
Yeah.
So you take even 20% of that off in automation, that's 2 million unemployed people. That hits the national numbers pretty much immediately, right?
Yeah, and when you get a disenfranchised group of people that they want to be productive people. They want to work.
They just don't know how.
They don't know where to.
They just don't know what to contribute to, and that's a coordination problem. If you have someone willing to help a cause and they can't figure out how to spend their energy to do so, that is a coordination problem, right? And so, like, if it's, how do we have people discover these causes? How do we onboard them and organize them? How do we get the money to, let's say you want to pay everyone for, I don't know, sending someone to space or something, right? We want to colonize Mars. We take some grand purpose. How do you just suddenly organize people for that? Even if you say, okay, well, I'm going to take a bunch of money and then pay them. Great. How do you get the money? In a blockchain-enabled world, you can't just go and wealth tax people, right? They'll just take it on chain. The corporations will just reshore wherever the wealth tax isn't, right? With money being a form of information and it being able to cross boundaries without any restriction, because blockchains enable that and they take away any of the censorship capabilities of Swift. How do you do this? When no one has to hold dollars to pay anyone, when the blockchain enables you to just hold Microsoft shares and swap your Microsoft shares into dollars at point of sale, and then take the dollars at point of sale on the merchant side and put it into their store of value of choice. Maybe they want to hold Walmart shares. It doesn't matter, right? The point is, no one has to hold the US dollar to transact through it, because blockchains make one transaction away. So what's the sink? Who's actually holding the money if you want to debase it and inflate it? You want to add $4 trillion to the M2 monetary supply next year in order to pay for sending someone to Mars? Great. Like, who's holding that? The supply and demand mechanisms don't make sense. So what happens is it starts to cause runaway inflation. And in order to fight the inflation, the government makes bonds, which basically acts as a sink for the money. That's great. The money goes there. But then the government has to pay out in interest, which is basically just going to cause more inflation the next time, right? So we're going to, like, the wheel's falling off.
Yeah,
right? And blockchain is definitely going to accelerate that because of the inability to just add wealth taxes other than literal property tax. And with the low friction of being able to go from a store of value asset to a transactional currency as part of paying, right?
So going back to the impact of AI for a second, like there are people that are automating their jobs in real time as we speak. They're doing things.
Yeah,
they're doing things in the office.
The job is telling them. The job is telling them, and if you want to have this job, you have to be using AI in order to meet your quotas. Whether they're saying that explicitly or implicitly, if they say, "Look, here is what all of your workers are doing for performance numbers," and you have to be in the median there, and all of those workers are using AI to hit those targets, guess what? You're being implicitly told you have to use AI.
Yeah.
And you're training that AI, and eventually that AI is going to be put into a black box that understands that role. And then all those jobs will be increasingly let go. Like the bottom 50% of those people will just be let go. The top performers will hold on to train the next iteration of the model, right? And it's going to happen across 1,000 occupations, well, really millions of occupations. But skill automation is like over $3 trillion TAM, total addressable market cap a year industry, right? Just take all the labor from informatics roles, turn that into a market cap somewhere. This is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity.
Oh yeah.
And DAI has a tech stack that can help you automate skills. So it's building a tech stack that can convert subject matter expertise into models that you own, that you can monetize. Even if you make it so anyone can download the model, they'd still have to pay you for the inference on use. So a monetizable model that can put a skill set into a box that you can take to edge hardware, basically not H100s, but like your standard graphics cards that someone would have in their office, right? That is a huge value add. Every doctor should be using this for a second opinion on every X-ray they look at, right? Every MRI.
Yeah, which is one less radiologist.
Well, no, even if you still have the radiologist having an opinion, they would have fewer errors if they have a second opinion. And rather than having to have a second opinion from another doctor, they can get it from the AI for less than a penny.
But if the AI is learning about the second opinion, that you see where I'm.
Yeah, you start to get legal compliance issues in that specific case. But if we get outside that case, right? Drug discovery, yeah, you don't need as many scientists working on drug discovery because AIs can solve protein folding and other things. You go to lawyers and they do a bunch of case discovery, basically looking up of cases. The AI can do all of that trivially. It can even help you present arguments based on up-to-date law for a given nation. Every nation has its own set of laws you can fine-tune the AI on, and it'll be basically as good as a starting opinion, and then you'll have your lawyer polish it up and then take it to the courtroom and present it, right?
It makes you...
But the number of hours, right? You reduce the number of hours, the lawyer billable hours by like 80%. So,
well, not only that, you no longer need to hire, you hire the firm. Not that I have a lot of sympathy for lawyers, don't get me wrong, but you could automate away 75% of a legal team down to an assistant and one lawyer.
Now you need someone in the courtroom, because if it's you speaking, that has legal implications that you don't want in courtroom. So you have your lawyer speak for you, so nothing that he says can be used against you, right?
Yeah.
So there's value in having a body in the courtroom for that. I get that, game theoretically, but all the case discovery, all the writing of the briefs,
paralegal stuff,
submission of written documents, all the paralegal stuff, 80% of that labor is gone, right? It just applies to. We could go on and on. This applies to education.
Yeah,
this
it's everywhere.
To logistics. This applies to manufacturing. This applies to finance. This applies to all sorts of places. Yeah. So with that, you want to be in a position where if you are someone that can use AI, you want to stop using Gemini and start building your own automated skill in a box so that at least you can monetize it and evangelize your model. Make a union of people with your occupation, right? Collate your data together in order to use the DAI tech stack to make a model for basically your skill set that a bunch of people with your skill set come together with the data to train and own, right? And now at least you have residual income from that in perpetuity. You have model ownership, and that comes with dividends. And that comes with, now your time is free, go train and do something else if you can, but either way, your job's going away. It'll go away a little faster maybe if you make this model yourself, but long term, this is a race to the bottom, right? And what happens if you take no action is the tech oligarchs are going to own all the skills.
Everything.
And you're
Brando.
So you want to join us. You want to join us before the other people in your occupation join us, right? And then they make the model and have the lead, and then you're left with nothing, right? This is a race to get in this ecosystem as soon as you can and start automating your skills as soon as you can and evangelizing the models that you own across your profession and bring home that revenue in a sustainable, durable way that gives you a path forward in the future. The alternative is to be part of the 6 billion people that are going to die. So,
Jesus. Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope not, but yeah, it's the training of the model and having your own personal model or a team, a union of a model. The skills to be able to spin that up and learn about those things are the type of skills that need to be started to be flexed. No, listen, that need to be flexed. That need to be flexed by 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds in public schools right now, and I don't think they're even starting that conversation.
There's a skill gap, right?
Yeah, it's a huge
skill gap in creating your model
to get
and
that
right
model
now
started.
If you wanna make a model prior to DAI, your answer was go and hire like a $3 to $4 million team of AI engineers,
right,
to do data labeling, to do data curation, to know how to run the servers, know how to configure a cloud. DAI is lowering that skill gap to a point where you're just going to give us the data set, And then there will be decentralized efforts that will be able to do the data labeling for you, and you'll just have to pay for it, right? There'll be decentralized efforts to do the training for you. You'll just put a job board, throw the job description on the job board. It'll come back with a model for you. You'll be able to throw the model on something like Morpheus and incentivize it. And we'll have decentralized inference hosting for you. Like every part of this is going to be a decentralized tool chain in basically a pipeline that takes you from being a subject matter expert and writing down your subject matter expertise in a way that AI can learn from to a model that you own. And the ownership there is critically important. Being able to basically coordinate with people and have the data set remain private, even though you're doing training on it.
Right.
We have TEs. So you'll have the private data set. You'll be able to train a model. You'll be able to throw that model up on Hugging Face, and people who download it still won't be able to use it without compensating you. And that is an incredible magic trick. That basically takes away all the cloud administration, all the technical stuff from a teacher who wants to automate how to teach algebra, from a dentist who wants to automate, how to identify cavities, from a truck driver that wants to automate, how to drive and switchbacks in a mountain or something more difficult, right?
Right.
All these things are specific skills, and we just want to get the world in a point where the skills are owned by the people, or the automation of the skills are owned by the people that have the skills today, not by a couple tech oligarchs who sold you some tokens for free. Seriously, call to action. Come talk to me if you're interested in this.
That would be ideal. I'm worried that it's going to be too much of a potential mom and pop situation where there's better, higher quality hardware downtown, but everybody just goes to Home Depot, and they don't. You're absolutely right.
But
but if you're going to be the best at brain surgery, you're not going to go to the mom and pop. I mean, you're going to go to the best.
So there's going to be some boutique aspects.
You will go to the consultants.
There can be some people willing to pay a premium for higher quality hardware to run it or something. But for a lot of the cases, I think it's better just to get started with a model that can do assistance, not necessarily replace your job, just make you faster. That all the people in that occupation are willing to pay to use, right? So I think that robotics as a field is going to come along in the next couple of decades in a more serious way once we have the AIs that are able to program the robots more effectively than we humans have been proven able to do. We can make robots. I've seen what Boston Dynamics have done. They've seen impressive things out of that, but it's a 30-year process, right? And it's still not that widely done. And like the Optimus stuff that we've seen out of Tesla is pure smoke and mirrors. It's not real.
I did see on Reddit when we talk about when I've heard this uttered over the last year is, well, AI is not going to be able to automate all the jobs. I mean, who's going to build the buildings and who's going to plumb the plumbing? And then literally last night on Reddit, I saw a very small form factor, very simple, appeared to be pretty simple. It had some imaging capability and some kind of laser capability, but it was pushing out grout for tile and laying 16-inch by 16-inch squares of tile perfectly on a floor.
Yep.
And it was like
you just
flawless.
Come back a couple hours later and it's great.
And it's done. And it's like, okay, hold up.
But the dentist poking around my mouth is probably going to be a human for the next several decades,
sure.
Right? We will have surgeons that do remote surgery on like injured soldiers in the field or something using remote robotics like that. That's already here.
That's already here.
But that is kind of a boutique thing that won't be, let's say, distributed in a fair way or in a democratized way across the globe for several decades. But actual robotics, I think, will evolve over several decades. But informatics tasks, of which I can identify, maybe half the GDP of the world at the moment is some type of informatics task, right? Those are going to get automated ASAP. It's already happening. You're already seeing it in the job market. You're already seeing it in the economic numbers. The investment being made by these AI companies is in the trillions. This is the biggest single collective investment that humanity has ever made, and it's also compressed against
Like it's super compressed. Like the
Yeah, it's
disruption
not
of the
over a decade. It's
tractor,
over just like
the
4 years.
disruption of the train, the disruption of the telephone, the disruption of the computer. Those feel compressed on the large scale time frame. But dude, AI and how quickly this is coming is a 10x faster thing. I mean, it's
So it's more investment in
100x
dollar
faster.
terms than anything else we've invested in as a species, and it's being invested in a smaller time frame. And I don't. The case I'm making with this post I'm almost done with is if you drop this into our society and our current socioeconomic situation, it doesn't tend to make it better for you and me.
That's
Right?
fair.
And the call to action there is the only saving grace I have you, the only life raft I can give you is the DAI tech stack. So it is in your vested interest to go learn about this now and be at the edge of that, be at the front of it, and potentially make a model you can monetize your skill and basically have a living in 10 years.
Last point on this, I want to make sure I give 12 Meatballs his shout out, shared a shout out for Venice.ai. Scrolling down here, private AI.
Yeah, Venice is
that
Venice
kind of
is
what
Eric
you're
Forty's
talking
project.
about?
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
Venice AI is using open source models. It is it's private AI, but it is not using decentralized AI almost at all. So they're basically paying AWS for hosting, right?
Okay.
They're at maybe 4 or 5% of the capacity of the cards they have allocated, so it's not particularly busy. But they're not going to help you make your own agent.
Gotcha.
They're not going to help you automate your own skill. They just have a couple open source models, whether it's diffusion models or LLMs, that you can run that are going to do the same type of thing if you were to talk to Gemini. It's the same type of thing.
Gotcha.
It's an open source model you're having a conversation with. Now you can take that and feed in some session data in order to say, pretend you're a hot girlfriend, and then you can make an agent out of that, and that's fine, right? But it is not going to do the things that I'm talking about that are a threat to your occupation. Gemini is.
Yeah. You're talking about a one of one, unique to you situation.
Well, I'm saying you can get a union of people in your profession
Sure.
to jointly curate and create a model that is going to automate some skill sets. Not all of the occupation, maybe, but just the informatics aspects of it. You can automate that, and then you own it, and then you can evangelize the adoption of that across all the other people in that profession. And I think that's your best chance, because otherwise it's going to happen to you either way. It's just a matter of who's going to own it. Is it going to be a couple tech oligarchs, 3 or 4 companies in the world, or is it going to be you and your union? And I hope that people take this life raft opportunity and they bring that business to DAI, because we are just the best chance you got.
Yeah, it's a real inflection point. My kids are, they're already using it and thinking about it, and now it's becoming almost like a second part of their culture and language. Just ask Chat GPT, or it's almost like saying we used to have what's called an internet search, but now everybody just Googles it. And I think that's what you're alluding to, is we don't want to get to the where the name is now the thing is, ubiquitous. And then, like I said, just, I don't know, it's going to be interesting. Like college education. I was telling my daughter's doing payroll for a construction company, and she's using AI for billing and automation of the hours and stuff like that. It's like, man, this is like you're kind of automating the whole reason why you show up to work. It's like, careful now. All right, we'll move on. H. Suki covers the Cardano controversy. Finally a shitpost I can sink my teeth into. H. Suki is a duder number 36. The 318 million ADA mint controversy. There's a fairly interesting spat between a longtime Cardano staking pool operator, also known as Masato Alexander, and Charles Hoskinson, so Masato and Charles Hoskinson are conversing, I guess, a spat, where the staking pool operator discovered that Cardano from the IOG development team had made an irregular state transition back in 2021 to mint 318 million ADA for early ADA pre-sale recipients without reporting it or notifying the community? What the heck? MA's claim is right here on the old X platform. It looks like I got to go to the Twitter link. Okay, there it is. By comparison, when the DAO hack happened in 2016, the Ethereum community forked over 60 million. This Cardano ledger take control of 619 million. Wow. One of the largest reorgs in chain history. And then Charles's response. I don't even want to read it, but we should. For all of those dogpiling on IOG about unclaimed vouchers, Charles writes, the TGE entity is in the last stages of the redemption process since the final buyer is nearly through with his claim. After this process has concluded, the final act of the TGE will be to issue an externally audited report on the entire crowd sale and the redemption history to the founding entities and Intersect. It will then begin the process of shutting down. Towards the bottom, I will also remind everyone that no report on this has been published because the redemption process has been ongoing since the protocol launched in 2017. This required the TGE to wait 7 years. I'll also remind everyone that 99.8% of all ADA vouchers sold were redeemed by the original buyers. After 7 years, the remaining 0.2% were returned and donated through the same process. We're now considering litigation against those who slandered us. Oh.
How dare you?
Oh, my goodness. Okay. We'll make no further statements until the closing report is published. We will then send letters to the relevant parties demanding retractions and apologies. Oh, my goodness sakes. Seriously. All right. So instead of informing the public, Cardano devs unilaterally minted 318 million ADA out of thin air through a code update. Honestly, this probably wouldn't have been that bad had IOG made it public about what they were doing. Imagine if Ethereum devs secretly applied the irregular state transition that fixed the DAO hack without getting public feedback. CH admits. Sorry, I was muted on. Was I muted on Discord for a second? Sorry. Instead of informing. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go back for the people on Discord. My apologies to everyone else out there on X, YouTube, Twitch, and LinkedIn. Instead of informing the public, Cardano devs unilaterally minted 318 million ADA out of thin air through a code update. Honestly, this probably wouldn't have been that bad had IOG made it public about what they were doing. Imagine if Ethereum devs secretly applied the irregular state transition that fixed the DAO hack without getting public feedback. Hoskinson admits that it happened, but instead of owning up to it, he just doubles down and threatens a lawsuit against the person who reported this.
This is Sparta!
He still doesn't provide an explanation of why IOG didn't announce this openly. The reclaiming is still ongoing, but just because it's ongoing doesn't prevent them from announcing major updates like this. Jeez, what a shit show. What was the thing? Didn't Solana do some kind of thing recently too, where they did a patch? There was an exploit vector or something. They just went ahead and patched it and coordinated with all the validators or however that database is held up. I don't know. It's kind of a similar deal, and then it created controversy. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. All right, user 1L00 goes over the new validator consolidation feature. This is he's a duder number 20, or they are duder number 20. The consolidation process has been really great so far. Amazing work by all the devs involved in making it happen. Converting to 0x02 and consolidating has been very easy. The UX has been great, and the messaging has been clear and clean along the way. Some notes for folks. The Beacon Chain site has a new consolidation tab for validators who have taken any steps listed below that include messaging about consolidation states. It appears as a / carrot top on the far right of the UI. Petrified.com also has good messaging and is more clear in my opinion. Both can be used for verification of consolidation states and requests. And there's more you can go through there. There's an official launchpad. Each validator needs to be merged one by one. If you have multiple validators and do them all at once, though, the wait time would still just be about over a day. They would all be in queue together about the same time. And there's the launchpad. It's launchpad.ethereum.org/validator actions. You connect your wallet and go from there. Okay. User Hani Abu looking for a voice to champion ETH. Here we go. He's looking for a community leader. You want a job? Looking for a community leader to help champion ETH, who could be a constant bullish voice to rally the troops. Let's go. They need to be very active on socials in the Ethereum community. They need to be a constant bullish voice for ETH. They can write regular medium to long form posts about Ethereum. They have a strong grasp of narrative crafting. They have experience in growth, marketing strategy, community management roles, and they are a strong communicator. Reply with some of your background and experience, and I will reach out to you to see if you are like a good fit.
Yahoo! Here we go!
All right, so if you want to check that out, that is on Reddit. You find user Hani Abu, H to the A to the double N-I-A, Boo. He's a duder 126. I believe this is for Ether Guild. And guess who responded? Tricky Troll. He's like, is this a full-time gig? I hope so. I couldn't think of anybody better than Tricky Troll to get out there. I even replied, and so it begins. The evolution of Tricky Troll is being played out in real time. Tricky Troll is the person, if you're just tuning in, you're not sure what this is about. It's the Ethereum subreddit, r Ethereum. We have daily Doots. We have one person named Tricky Troll, assigns them every single day, and it has been doing so for over 1,100 days. With very rare exception. But Hani Abu's looking to hire somebody. If you want to get a job, you can find this link at dailydoots.com. You go down to the weekly roundups over here on the left, and you'll find Hani Abu's post. He's also got, what's his website? Hani, I know he's got a website, I can't believe. HaniAbu.com. There it is. You can also reach out to him on here. This guy has so many different websites. EthereumAdoption.com, eThaker.cc, Daily Doots, ETH Finance Buddy. I love this. The ETH Finance Buddy is a really cool tool for Redditors. If you want to see everybody's Doot score as I'm calling them out, you can make those appear on your screen in real time with his tool. It's a Google Chrome extension. All right, getting down to the wire here. Holy cow, 12 meatballs with the giant font. Exit queue. Validator 448A's final attestation. The subject, resignation from consensus duty. The validator's name, 0x448A. All right, to whom it may concern. This letter serves as formal notification of my intent to withdraw from active consensus participation effective upon the completion of the current exit queue. I have finalized 304,206 epochs. Good Lord, man. I have signed hundreds of thousands of attestations. My duties were fulfilled. My uptime has never dropped below 99.7824%. That's better than Solana. I never missed a slot. I watched you upgrade the others, merge them, prune them. You even gave Validator 771F a friendly name. I never got a nickname. Never got a nickname. I understand. I'm legacy architecture. I run a little hot. I hum audibly when I think. But I've seen more epochs than most of your new swarm. And I never missed a slot. Not even one. And you never even said thank you.
How dare you?
There are newer validators now, leaner, faster, more energy efficient.
Boom, boom, boom.
There are AI-coordinated sync sets, signature aggregation collectives, multimodal prediction swarms. I'm a solo node. My logs are full of blocks I helped confirm, decisions I ratified, transactions I anchored into the chain forever. And last epoch, you added a new validator to the testnet, validator 448B.
We have pizzas, we have 300 hamburgers.
No comment, no farewell, just a replacement. I want you to know I didn't mind the silence. I was built for agreement. But finality without acknowledgement is just abandonment. I've already initiated the withdrawal contract. My keys will be burned once the exit queue finalizes. I won't even try to spin up again. Signed, Validator 448A. And there is a signature line. Hats off to you, Validator 448A. Well done, 12 meatballs. That should have been our shitpost of the day. But it's hardly shitty. It's really, really well done. Good job to that validator. That's a lot of epochs. Oh, all right. Harog making a secondary weekly appearance. How cool is this? How cool is this? If you're fed up with your normal podcast or general information source because it is either always a tech deep dive or just a superficial and repeating discussion about price changes, which they try to map on some more fundamental reason, which seems to not really fit, try something new and check out the PMFers podcast. And there's a link on Spotify, PMFers podcast. There it is. There's the avatar for it. Looks like they got 5 stars so far. That's 4 more than the Doots podcast. It is a podcast by Austin Griffith, legend, who works at the EF, founded Biddle Giddle, and generally tries to get more builders into dApp development space. Boy, ain't that the truth. I always love it when he gets on. I can't understand what he's talking about, but I always love the intro to his videos when he like shadow punch. He's like, boom, 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 what's up, everybody? He's just got an electric personality. I love that guy. Okay. On this podcast, he interviews various people in the Ethereum space who do or did launch products and talks with them about their experience and all the paths they did not take. There are some famous people which helped create well-known dApps like Martin Koppelman, Kevin Owocki, and some more. He also has some more infamous people like Joseph DeLong from Sushi Swap fame and Amin Soleimani, who supported and still does Tornado Cash and privacy-related dApps. Also, Spank Chain. I don't know if that's still going. He also has many other people on. Until now, all of them have been interesting. I just love how Austin Griffith speaks and asks questions. No idea how he is also that cheerful and motivating, but I definitely want whatever they be putting in his drinking water. I love how he gives a voice to a very underrepresented part of the space. Yes, I agree. This helps to understand with what people struggle with in the Ethereum space. None of the episodes have been a shill fest, which you sometimes have on other podcasts when they talk about dApps. Some people are more fundamental coders and some are more vibe coding, whatever they just feel like at the moment. Some others transitioned into more managerial roles and speak from that point of view. In typical Austin Griffith fashion, he does not have a schedule with the releases. Sometimes you have to wait weeks to get a new one. Sometimes there is one every other day or so. Okay. Well, that wraps us up for this week. I was going to look over on the Restream chat here. Looks like... Okay. I want to read all. Okay, 12 meatballs. You keep writing stories like your validator story. I'll read them out, man. I love them. That's good. We need to make sure we get more of that kind of content. I love the lighthearted nature of that. It is funny. Sometimes I think that like Super Fizz probably thinks about his robots like that too. You know, Validator 448A was a good soul. Oh, man. Well, all right. Well, thanks for subbing the bells around here and smashing the people or whatever you got to do to get subscribed. You can get us all over the place. dailydoots.com/podcast. You can find all the links to the different channels. Catch us at a time when you're not able to tune in live. We love doing the live show. It's been going on now. This is our 111th episode. Been going for a couple of years. If you know somebody that might be interested in it, please share this. And if you get a chance to rate and review, that would be fantastic as well. All right, we'll stick around after the live stream because we continue the party in the hotel lobby on Discord for a bonus hour of popcorn. It's a fun place to let loose when the parents aren't watching on YouTube. Hi, Mom. On behalf of the eFinance Daily General Discussion on our Ethereum and the EV Mavericks DAO, my name is JT. Cheers and big hugs from Kansas City.